You're tuned in to the Down East Bucks podcast, brought to you in part by Wheels and Deals Auto, located at 1037 Roosevelt Trail, Windham, Maine. All right, in this episode, Jim Tocher and I sit down with Timmy Bolduc and Stephen Champa.
Yeah, what do you guys want to do?
I don't care. Whatever.
It's just whatever. I don't care.
All right, Steve, all pressure on you. Let's go. What's going on?
Look at like the stuff going on in Vermont right now. All those guys, I mean, they're about ready to lose all their hunting privileges over there because
So-
everybody's afraid to talk about it. You know?
So what's going on with that?
I don't really know. I know it's a lot of stuff that was similar to what was tabled in New Hampshire. I think they're gonna lose their hound hunting. It was tabled, but it got vetoed. I don't know the whole deal, but it was like three separate law or rule proposals, but they're like all in danger of passing. And if so, it's gonna be like Vermont's gonna be a thing of the past for hunting. Yeah. And I mean culturally they have the most hunters per capita in probably the Northeast.
Right.
Where New Hampshire and Maine, I mean, there's hunters, but nothing like Vermont.
Yeah.
I wish I knew more about it so we could touch on it, but I can Google it.
No, I mean, I should have paid attention to it, but
Yeah.
it's also a kind of thing like I'm up in Maine, I can barely keep track of the kids and all that.
Right. Yeah, that would be terrible.
I know Joey posted it the other day.
You ever notice like whenever they come down the pipe with new stuff, like it never ever makes any sense
No.
to
No.
me.
Well, that's
No,
like they were trying
to
to get rid of
anyone.
coyote hunting in Maine.
Yeah,
I
It's
think
like, well, that doesn't make sense at all. Well, they're animals. Well, yeah, they're animals, but they're killing all the other animals
Yeah.
too, you know?
it's
That's
unbelievable.
why I say there's no wolves in Maine.
Right.
Because if they say there's wolves, they're going to protect the
They're
coyote.
sanctioning
Right,
everything.
right.
Because
right.
we don't know.
right, yeah, well, we can't say that's a coyote, that's
Right.
a wolf.
Right.
There's
It's a trap.
yeah, it is. In Massachusetts, you can't hunt coyotes year round. You can't. There's an allotted season for them. I think it's like October, November to the end of March.
Wow.
Yeah, they don't want any of them killed during the breeding season or pup season or post breed season. Once the
Right.
females are knocked up, they don't want them. They don't want them getting shot, which is absurd.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Knock the population down.
Yeah, Colorado was it
Yeah,
Colorado?
Colorado, they're releasing wolves, and like the governor's sitting there, like they're opening the doors of the cage, and the governor's like, or maybe not the governor, somebody, maybe head of game,
Commission
Fish and
or
Game, and he's
something,
sitting
yeah.
there, and he's like, the look on his face was like, holy shit, we just started a
war.
started a war with this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because now because
Look at Ontario.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just the same thing. It's
you can't kill them, and it's just gonna all the big game that's out there, the sheep, the elk, everything,
Right.
they're all gone.
and look at the money. The thing that drives me nuts is the number side. So the amount of money Colorado, all those northwestern states pay, or even southwestern state pay for an elk tag. Now you're gonna introduce wolves to them. So you're taking all your outfitters, cut their profit in half because people are like, well, give it 7-10 years. There's not going to be a market for these guys to make money.
Right.
Same thing with the Katahdin Iron Works. They went up there and said, no, nothing. You can't hunt. You can't drive. You can't whatever they're doing up there. And all these families are like, well, we can't survive having an outpost, even if it's a 4-wheeling trail. You can't. If that's your money, it's gone. It's out the window.
What happened at Katahdin?
That was sold off and given to the government. That was someone bought it, and I'm not going to say her name. I won't give her that satisfaction, but she bought a bunch of land and then gave it as a national park. So like you can't 4-wheel on it, you can't snowmobile on it in the winter. Like a bunch of, it's crazy. I'm sitting there. Snowmobiling is the least invasive of everything.
Yeah.
Maybe you're going to catch a tree on a ski every now and then, but
Yeah,
They
It's
might have
just-
changed some of that recently.
really,
Yeah.
yeah, I haven't looked into
think
it,
it
but
went-
that was like a big thing back 8-10 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember it because they own, they bought a couple.
Oh,
main
not
companies,
Katahdin
too.
Ironworks.
Katahdin
Katahdin
Ironworks.
Wind Water. I forget the name of it. Not Katahdin Ironworks. So it's up by Baxter. They
Okay.
gave a bunch of it. You like can't use. There's like a big sign out there. No 4-wheelers, no snowmobiles, no hiking. You can't walk off the trail. Like
She openly said that she hates hunting.
yeah, it's pretty brutal.
that was a substantial amount of land.
Yeah, I think it was either 30 or 80,000 acres.
Millions of dollars.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah, it was big time.
that's terrible.
It almost feels like in the last few years, like our world is way more under attack than I
Wicked.
remember. I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe I don't know.
Because it's family. It's around family. They're
Right.
attacking the nuclear family, and that's it.
right.
Yeah.
It's gonna be rough on our kids. You know what I mean? That's,
Yeah,
that's
for
the
sure.
thing.
It
It's
feels like we're on the
Sure.
downslope for sure.
Yeah.
That's
Just
like-
here in New Hampshire, like what would they with the cameras.
Cell cameras. Yep. You can't.
Any
Can't use cell
camera.
camera.
You know. Well, you can use them, but you have to have written permission to place a camera, and then you have to have your name on all your cameras now too. And I think you guys have to do that in Maine, right?
In Maine,
Tree
yeah.
stands.
Yeah,
you
tree
have to have
stands,
name.
written permission.
Right.
So now, like all that stuff that like around here, it's the same as up where you guys are. If it's not posted, it's considered public.
Right.
It's not public, but it's huntable
Huntable,
property.
right.
Now all those properties where people are skeptical about having hunters and stuff like that, they're either going to be bombarded with hunters,
Right.
Asking to hunt their property, and they're going to get overwhelmed and aggravated, or it's going to be like, oh, I don't allow hunting on my property, and then there's going to be a fresh row of posted signs up, and now so much stuff is going to be lost from stuff like that.
Right.
So that's the first step around here. I think that's gonna definitely change a lot of stuff.
That's like where we are too. Is it's hard. Like there's not. You think of Maine, everybody says, "Oh, Maine, there's so much land. There's so much land. You can hunt anywhere." Well, like for us, like if we go out on the weekend, we're not driving to Millinocket or Jackman or Rangeley. We're staying right where we are.
Right.
There's not a lot of land, and especially now, like where we live, there's so much development. Like the land just next to my house that you used to be able to hunt, and you would never see a house or anything. They've got 40, 50 houses in there. So it's getting tighter and tighter.
And we dumped a 4-pointer together, and,
Yeah.
and someone tried to take it.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they shot the foot off, dude, and it was,
They thought it was
hit
their
the
deer.
hoof.
yeah,
Yeah.
they hit it in the hoof and we dropped it, and they it was to a point his family had hunted that land forever, and then they brought me there. I was like, oh, this is awesome. It's public land. It's not private or anything.
Right.
But I was like, oh, I'm fortunate enough these guys brought me to where they know there's deer. Went in there, and it was a rough season. Shot a 4-pointer. We both shot at it and dropped it, and they come up over the hill after. We're just about to dive a knife into it. And one of the guys was like, oh, flip a coin for it. I'm like, whoa, what's going on here, man? And I told Tom, I was like,
Hitting the toe. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
so I was like, yeah, it's not a big piece. It's under 200 acres.
Yeah. You
he
should
said,
hear
"Oh, we
a
shot
shot
it
though
6
if it was in the
times."
same
Yeah.
block.
Right. And he goes, oh, we shot it 6 times. And I go, I don't know.
With an airsoft gun? Or-
It's weird. You guys shot it 6 times, but it happened to fall when we pulled the trigger.
Well,
Right?
the thing is, it was getting ready to take off. Like, there's a fence. There's a whole side that's posted that is not a high fence, but it's no human contact.
right.
He's getting ready to jump that thing. He couldn't jump it with 3 legs.
Right.
So we heard it ting, 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 ting. We're, what the hell is that? Pow! Started letting them fly. And I told Tommy when we left, I said, dude, I don't think I'm going to come back in here. It made me, I was so disgusted with the feeling. Sportsmen are supposed to,
We were going to give him the deer.
100%. I told him, I said, listen, if your buddy wasn't acting the way he was acting, you can have
be in
this
your
thing.
truck, yeah.
Right,
Get
right.
it in your truck right
Right.
now.
We'd help you drag it out.
Just because they wanted
100%.
it so bad. Like,
Right.
even though we knew, like,
Right.
what the facts were.
Right.
Like, you really want this 4-pointer, dude?
Yeah,
Right,
right.
take it
Yeah.
that much to
Yeah.
And that's not the right thing to do. If you look at it, it's not, you shoot an animal, you should never
Right.
give it. But at that
It obviously
thing,
meant more to them than it would have to you.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. That's, we've talked about it before, is that if we see you dragging, we're not walking by you. If
No.
we see you walking down the road, we're not driving by
No.
you.
We've stood
You
over
ride?
people's deer before. Stopped
Yeah.
our hunt.
Right.
Stood
Yeah.
over deer. Like, we'll make sure no one jacks your deer. You go
Right.
get your truck.
Right. Go get
Of
your
course
game
they're
card. Yeah. They're skeptical.
Cautious about it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, but that's you make that name like, hey, these guys, and we had someone talking, bad on us as a whole, our little group, our family,
yeah.
and we had people in the community. We had a dog tracker that we don't really know, kind of like speak up and was like, listen, man, this is not how these guys are. Like,
Right.
these guys have waited for us to go get our stuff, to help us skin, to help us drag, to help us do whatever. Like, that's what sportsmanship's about. That's
Starting
what
to come
we're
back
all trying
around
to
on
do.
that guy, though.
Yeah,
He's,
exactly. Now it is.
Yeah, he shoots late.
Oh.
Yeah. So, and they got a kid that owns the new property, and he's like, texted him.
Yeah.
He's like, that was 8 minutes late. So,
Boy.
but which is good, because you need to have that balance. You need to have. I don't want to be a rat. I'll never be that rat. But if something dangerous has happened, something stupid's happening, you've got to say something.
Right.
But there's also the people out there that aren't gonna care. If you shot late and they see you, they're gonna call the warden.
Right.
And there's got to be that fine line of, hey, listen, you've got to do what's right. We're trying to protect.
Ethics. That's the biggest thing. We got to protect our ethics as hunters,
Exactly.
because if not, everybody's going to just think we're a bunch of dirtbags.
Exactly.
We're already being attacked.
Right.
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 So, when you walk in with a tagging station with blood all over your hands, if there's a little kid and his mom eating pizza at the, if you stop at a store tagging station, just try to clean up a little.
Right,
Make it
right.
look nice, and don't drive by people at night when they're walking down the road with a gun and the orange vest on. Stop and ask them.
Yeah, that's us.
That's us. If we're walking, stop and ask them. Way too big to be walking that far.
It's so crazy. It's so crazy though. Like if I mean, Timmy can relate. Hunting around here, I'm only 35 minutes from here, 40 minutes, and if you walk down the road with a gun in your hands, everybody swerves and is rubbernecking looking at you. But the second you get up into Maine, you got a gun in your hand, you're the first person to get picked up. The first car that comes by you, hey, you need a ride? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Every time.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, because we don't have that around here. We're the outliers around here, 100%. Oh yeah, there's so many people that just move up from other southern Maine, Massachusetts, whatever. You guys hunt around here? You can't hunt around here. Of course we can.
Right.
I can't tell you how many times I've heard that. You can't hunt around here.
Yeah, they know that they're
Right.
experts on the law.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, you're awfully close to houses. Yeah, well, there's a setback law for a reason.
Right,
I'm not within that setback. And
Right.
that happens a ton around here, especially with, like you guys said, with all the development going on. I work for a bigger city, and you can't even a quarter-acre lot. If there's not enough wetlands to exempt it from being a house, they're putting a house in there.
Oh, yeah.
It's
And then they're changing laws.
so you can get more houses in.
Yeah, right.
It's crazy.
Like
It's
Maine, they allow 40,000 square feet to be filled.
really.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I think it's 40,000. I know it's a big number because when I heard it, I was like,
That
that's
Walmart
a
in
lot.
Scarborough is nothing but swamp.
Yeah. I said,
Really?
that's a lot of swamp to be filling in.
It's supposed to be protecting our wetlands, not
Right.
filling them in, which is terrible.
And they had a perfect swamp in Wyndham
Which one?
that was like a sanctuary. You could never hunt
Oh yeah. Now they want to put a $70 million school.
school in there. Like we couldn't walk out there,
We
but
can
you
hunt
can
out
put
there,
a
but they
building
can put a
in
school in there. You
Yeah.
can ruin it forever. We weren't going to impact it at all. Besides, maybe
We were
shut a
gonna
deal
help.
out of there. Yeah, we're going to help with that.
Yeah. So it's, you think about it. So like to build a commercial property, you need to have 70% permeable ground. So you need to have groundwater. Well, you put a school in there, and they want to put a bunch of parking and fields and turf fields. Well, now we're taking all the swamp out of it, and now it's just a school. It's
Right.
It's just going to start happening more and more. I mean, land is such a limited resource, and
Right.
there's only so much of it in this world. And when is enough? That's
right. That's the biggest question.
it's tough because one day it's going to be gone. I've already seen it in my lifetime where the stuff that I used to think was like rural is now becoming suburbs.
Right.
And it's like that used to be a small town of 10,000 people, if that,
Right.
and then now all of a sudden there's 40, 50, 60,000
Of
people in
course.
it. I mean, you've probably seen that a ton around here too.
yeah. When I was a kid here, I don't know how many live in this town now. It's like whatever it is, 6, 7, 8,000. When I was a kid, I remember I asked my mom, I was probably 10 years old, and it was like 350 people.
Right.
I mean, the change that I've seen is just
Oh, yeah.
crazy. But the problem is when you bring people in like that, it's like changes your culture. So now here
Right,
we
yeah.
are all these years later, and it's almost to the point where like you feel like you're doing something wrong by going out and going hunting around here. Like
Living
you were
your
saying,
normal
you know
life.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
It's just, it's crazy. It's just, we're not doing anything wrong, and you shouldn't feel like it. But man, it's
We've been doing this long before you lived here.
Right.
Yeah, but
right.
you
and
just
treat you like
we
a
as a
criminal.
whole have been doing
Yeah.
this for thousands.
Right.
Thousands of years.
Right.
Yeah.
So
The worst part is like these people, like I always try to explain, like, because I'm a horseshoer too, so I work on farms and stuff like that. And, you'll have those people that are, not into hunting and really, and I'll get permission from them. But like I explained to them, like, you got to remember, like, we encroached on these
Right.
animals.
Right.
And
Right.
when you do that, it all comes down to numbers. Like, you have to
100%.
sustain your numbers. The same way you can't just release 5,000 wolves and turn your back for 20 years. Like, there comes a point where you got to control numbers, and it goes across the board on almost all animals, right?
How come we have no more elk in Colorado?
Yeah,
you remember what you guys did 20 years ago?
yeah,
That's
these
why.
people don't realize like
Yeah.
you can get to a point like you wouldn't be able to go drive to the store without a really high risk of smashing your car up every
Right.
time you do, or you can't grow whatever in your yard because deer just eat it all. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? It's all numbers. You just have to manage them. So
It's like
really, you should be thanking me.
right. That's like Cumberland County. A lot of people don't realize, the anti-hunters don't realize, in Maine, zone 21 is like tenfold. I mean, 10,000 permits.
Yeah, they
for-
give a
for
lot of
doe.
antlerless permits for
antlers.
21.
Yeah, and it's the reason behind it is because collisions on highways, side roads,
Yeah.
and it's just, people are like, oh, well, you hunt. Well, yeah, but you want to pay $30,000 on a Lexus and have it smashed up every 6 years?
Yeah.
You just gotta we got to work together. We got to, we're trying to help you, help us,
Yeah.
But
And then you run back into the little pieces of land.
right.
Lots of permits, lots of people from out of town coming to that
Right.
zone.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Increases
big time.
pressure.
I love seeing the buses come out with all the people from Mass.
Yeah.
The bus, and all of a sudden 10 guys jump out and they're like, all right, we're going in. It's like, whoa, we're getting out.
You guys see that many people from Mass come up there?
There's quite, there's
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were up
It
north
is like
last
waves, though.
year. It is. Yeah. You'll get like 2 or 3 years and then it'll fall off. And like, I don't know. It's all situational, really.
Well,
Certain weeks.
I think the thing is Mass's gun season doesn't open until after Thanksgiving too.
Right.
So a lot of guys in November they want to get out and take their rifle for a walk and or shotgun, whatever it is up. I think a lot of that's shotgun country up there, but
good. Yeah. 21's a good amount of it shotgun.
yeah,
But yeah, it's crazy, and then I'm sure you guys up north, you see all the out-of-staters up there. The green plates driving.
green
Vermont,
players. Yeah,
That's what I was just thinking when he was talking about the laws change. I was like, I don't know if we can take any more Vermonters in New Hampshire and Maine. It's crazy,
Right.
and the unfortunate part is Vermont hunters, they're phenomenal hunters,
Oh,
and
yeah,
that's
they're
why
great
that's why everybody hates them. And it's like if you see a green plate in a piece of woods,
Yeah.
if there's a buck in there, he's in
Oh, yeah.
trouble. He is in that buck's in trouble.
Yep.
But and I mean that added pressure from a state that allows hunting now. Imagine if they take hunting out of the equation in that state. Oh
They're
my
gonna
God!
flood. They're
Yeah,
gonna-
New Hampshire, Maine, New York. I mean, can't even go people going up into Canada. There's going to be, all those guys. I would feel terrible for those guys if they couldn't hunt in their home state. Imagine being told you can't hunt in your own town where you've hunted your whole life. That would be
It's
detrimental.
going to be kind of the same as when they told us we have to pay for permits. Kind of, we always hunted forever back in the day, and then all of a sudden now you got to pay. You got to pay.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there. Just my hunt license alone is almost $100 a year just to hunt, which we should just be able to do.
I wish ours was only that much in the state. Our license for like your bow tags and everything. What is it, like 200 and something bucks, 220,
Wow.
230?
Is it that much?
Yeah, if you get like your bear tag, your extra
Right.
bow
Yeah.
tag, like if you do just about everything, it's like $250. But I used to hunt Massachusetts. I've been hunting Massachusetts for probably, I don't know, 12 years. And when I first started hunting Massachusetts as a non-resident, I could go hunt Massachusetts for like $65, $70, and then they kept their license price the same forever. And then 2 years ago, they bumped it up. It was like 50% increase and 100% increase, then another 100% increase. So like it's going to be like $300 just for me to hunt that state now.
Right, that makes it hard for someone like me wanting to go hunt it. And I'm like,
I
I've
go
never
hunt it too.
hunted it.
Right.
I'm like, that's a risk for me to take that much money.
Right.
Just for a license.
Right, for 2 or 3 days of hunting, where when
Right.
you used to be able to do it for $60-$70, no problem.
Right,
Like
right.
with $60 to go hunt 3 days, sure, $20 a
Yeah.
day.
Right.
But you can't even. It's
That adds up for somebody like you that hunts New Hampshire, Mass,
Right.
Vermont,
Maine.
Maine, New
You know,
York. Yeah, I'd probably spend $1,500
I
a
was
year in
gonna say,
licenses alone.
That adds up quite a
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah. It's crazy.
PA is expensive. PA just for a deer tag is your buck and doe tag is like $240. Yeah, New York's pretty cheap. New York's
What is Maine for out of state?
not bad, $100.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
That's not bad.
for your gun tag and then a doe tag is like $10.
not
they're
bad.
not bad. They're not that hard on the non-res, and then the turkey tag's like another $10 too. Vermont's pretty cheap, but New Hampshire's pricey, Mass is pricey, and then I mean,
I looked in New Hampshire too. I was like, dang.
yeah, oh yeah.
We were
As
thinking
a
about going to New Hampshire last
as a
year.
non-res, it's expensive.
Yeah.
Like for residents, like I said, we're paying $200, $250,
Right.
whatever it may be, and then for non-res, it's probably you're going to spend just as much for
Right.
a non-res license.
And then hunt maybe a day or two.
Right. The only good thing is
And
we
the
get
time off.
Right.
we get Sunday hunting over here where you guys
Right.
don't.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a big argument.
Mass is no Sunday hunting, but Vermont, New Hampshire, New York, you can all Sunday hunt, which is great. Some people are so against it. Most of your blue collar people are hunters, and
Right.
now you're only limiting them to one day a week to hunt.
It's that's the big argument in Maine. People are like, well, we have Saturdays, we have 4, maybe 5 days to hunt.
Right.
It's just with Thanksgiving, but I don't know I don't know why it's so weird in Maine that we can't do Sundays. I mean, I'm completely impartial to it. I don't care, but I also am pretty fortunate that I can take time off.
Right.
So that's recent. In the last recent couple of years, but
The guys in PA, they're like majority of their hunters are like, no Sunday hunting, no Sunday hunting. They hate it, and it's like
What's the reason?
Why? Well, it's tradition, and we never have hunted Sundays, and that's the Lord's Day, or whatever their logic may be. And it's like, okay, just because that's your personal prerogative or narrative, doesn't mean that's everybody's. Like, if you choose to sit out on Sunday, that's on you.
Yeah, it gives me a better chance from 10 to 11:30 when you're sitting in church.
Right. Yeah, that you can be out there hunting, but I don't know. That's just micromanagement and being overgoverned, in my opinion. Yeah.
I think what the fear is that people would start posting their land more because they know they can't go out on Sunday and not worry. Not that anybody's going to shoot towards them or anything like that, but they have it in their head.
Subconsciously. Yeah.
They're thinking they got the woods themselves. Same with the loggers. They're not worried about
Sunday
bullets flying through the woods. But other than that, that's
if you have smart or somebody with half a brain that respects the land, you should never have to worry about. And I'm a firm believer in during hunting season, throw orange on.
100%.
You shouldn't, and I'm saying that, and you shouldn't have to on your own property if it's posted. I get that.
Right.
But I'd be better safe than sorry any day.
Oh, yeah.
Put an orange hat on. You wouldn't believe how much an orange hat sticks out like a sore thumb when you're walking through the woods. I mean, 100%. It gives... I've had times where I've had people come walking by me, and their gait is very similar to game. They'll take 2 steps, walk, stop, and my heart will start getting going. Not that I'll ever point a gun at something I don't know what it is, but I'll be staring at something.
Someone's in your same position, without discipline,
right?
That's scary.
I'll be sitting there waiting to see whatever it is, and all of a sudden I'll see a leg, or I'll see somebody's orange hat or something. I'm like, good thing you had that on, because there's some people that wouldn't be paying attention.
We get pretty lucky where we bow hunt. They all wear bells and they run because there's a big track. And they'll sit there and they'll run through the woods and you can hear them ching-a-ling-a-ling.
We don't have a problem with bears in that area. No. And the dude's wearing a bell.
That's funny.
It's fun, yeah. And then
I thought he had a dog with him that day. I was like, where's the dog? It's on his waist. Ding, ding.
And then walking out, you're full camo. We scared the hell out of one last year.
Yeah.
He's riding a
guy on a bicycle.
And he got so scared he reared up and wheelied past us. Oh my God. And I'm like, we're trying to get off the trail, but you don't want to be like, hey, and scare them. It's dark, and then flash a light at them, they're gonna have a stroke or something.
Right.
So you're just trying to all right, just maybe you won't see us. As soon as he got to us, he nailed it, dude.
Getting by you and not seeing you.
That's exactly. I'm sitting there. I'm like, all right, well, there's not a tree around that's as wide as
I am. 100-year-old pine tree.
Yeah.
Dude. He reared up and just we're dying the whole way out. I'm like, how did you not? I mean, me of all people, dude. I'm 6'2", 400 pounds. How do you not see me? But it was funny as hell. That was my favorite time being in that woods.
I always try to avoid that stuff as much as possible, if possible, because not too many times when you're coming out of the woods at night, you don't scare somebody, or they're not afraid. They're like, what is that? So whenever I come out, I'm like, if I can see somebody walking down the road or something before I get to my truck, I'm letting you go by before I even think of getting out of the woods.
Oh yeah.
Because then, what are you doing? It's not the 21 questions. Why are you out there? That do you know whose property that is?
Yeah.
It's not posted, so it's fair game. But that's it is funny when you get people when you scare them though. The times you do, it's
his dad got me. We were both hunting the same piece, and he was in a tree stand. I'm sitting there, I'm like, what is that noise? Sounded like something raking a tree. Well, he had climbed out, and he had his climber on his back, and he's like, the way he was moving, I'm like, there's no way there's a moose down here. What the hell is that? And he's like, I'm like, what is going on here?
Oh yeah.
And I was like, all right, is that a bear? Because there is bear there. Not many. If anybody's listening that's afraid of bear.
We did see one not far from there.
Yeah, literally a couple 100 yards away. But yeah, I'm sitting there. I'm like, what in the hell is that? And he's starting moving towards me. I'm like, all right, this is weird. I got to get out of here. And because there's so many people in there, you never know. That's the problem with Southern Maine is it's hard to, they get people with ladders up in the tree, sitting up there. I'm like, all right, but yeah, his dad got me good that day.
It is crazy the amount of people you see in Southern Maine versus Northern Maine.
Yeah.
Once you get north of, I don't know.
Augusta,
once you get across that, center line across the state, if you drew a line east to west from Augusta down, you see a lot more hunters than once you get north of Augusta. It's a substantial difference.
Well, sometimes living down here and this stuff, and just being under that that curtain of having to answer if somebody walks up to you and all the things. Like there's a feel that comes with that, right?
Right.
Sometimes it's really nice just to get up in the mountains and away from everybody where like all that just goes away. You know what I
Driving
mean?
home going, what the hell am I? Why do I live down here? You know?
Yeah. It just, I don't know.
You don't have that uneasy feeling of
There's
like,
no uneasy feeling.
yeah,
Right.
that's what I love about going to Maine is like
Right.
I can go walk around all day, not worry about running into another hunter,
Right.
not worrying about ruining someone else's hunt, not worrying about running into somebody that doesn't like hunting. I can just go and go for a walk, take my gun for a walk, and just hunt all day long and not be, 21 questions or you can just enjoy it. You can enjoy the hunt a lot more that way.
Yeah.
Because around here, God, I feel like every time I shoot a deer, I'm like, please don't die in that person's yard. And please, please don't, I've shot deer that, not that I'm proud of it, but, I've made poor shots on them, but they end up running through yards or, stuff you don't want to go through with a gun. It's like, okay, now I got to knock on that person's door because it ran by their trampoline, and so,
I've done that.
Yeah.
It's the
It's the worst.
door, like, hey, he's gonna die.
Right. Yeah.
Just let me out there.
That's what's so nice. Like you said, going up north sometimes it's, it's,
You don't have to deal with any of that.
No.
A lot of posted popping up there though, up north in Maine.
Yeah,
Like where we
it's-
hunt, we've seen a ton of posted come up.
yeah.
Like we were walking that road the year before last. People from New York, they're like, "What are you guys doing out here?" We're like, "This is a town road. What are you guys doing out here? You don't have orange, a gun, nothing. You're just walking.
Right.
It's like a 7-mile long dirt road." I go, "What are you guys doing out here?" "Oh, we bought some land over here and posted it." I'm like, "Okay."
There you go.
Yeah, once that happens too, they think like, well, that's my property.
Yeah.
Right.
You can't even be near it. You
That's
can't look at my posted signs.
I guess that's the good part about all the paper companies owning as much land as they
right.
do
Yeah.
up north.
Oh, it saves it.
It saves so much land.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It'd be the same.
Well, it's
You
like-
wouldn't be able to hunt the Allagash if you didn't. That whole
Right.
Allagash region would be gone if it was
Right.
if Irving posted all that land and all the big companies that own most of that.
Well, it's like Apple. They bought. I think I was telling you last time. Apple bought a ton of land over in, I don't know, wherever the hell it is. But they ended up buying a bunch of land and they left it all open. So it's just they have a forest management plan. So every 10 years they have a forester come through and just measure and do their thing. But it's still open, which I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. Apple buying land in Maine.
Just investing their money.
Yeah,
That's-
just quick dump. Just dump it and get the write off.
Yeah.
But they're at least going in there and leaving it open.
Yeah,
which
open
is
space.
cool.
Well, that goes back to that whole land as a limited resource thing. Eventually, that they might. Let's face it. There's not really anybody singularly that's profiting from Apple, but there's going to be down the line that corporation is. They might have paid $30 million for that land, but in 100 years, that's going to be worth billions
Right,
because that you have that much land up there. That's a desirable area now, and now it's going to be worth so
Right.
much more.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It's crazy times.
Crazy times. Crazy times. It's only going to get worse. That's the downfall to it.
Right.
Not to be pessimistic, but
Yeah. Invest in land. They won't make any more of it.
no.
That's
The good thing is people are waking up a little more, like
Right.
us, our age.
Yeah.
So I mean, we can.
Yeah, it's
we can
definitely
still
a swing
fight it.
coming back.
Right.
Yeah.
But
There's going to come a time where people are going to say, you guys were right.
yeah. Oh yeah.
That's for sure.
You guys
Oh,
were
yeah.
right.
I hope so.
I'd rather just go away and not have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. But that's like so we have the town I live in's got like 2,700 maybe residents, and originally there was like 4 families that owned like everything, and now the grandkids of those families are starting to get older, and they're starting to sell out. But we have one buddy of ours that his uncle is pretty well off, and he's buying land. And, he's buying chunks, like big chunks, and his basic thing is like, I don't want anybody building next to me. I'll buy this piece. It's got what I want here. I'll buy the piece next to it because I don't want to look at a house.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
There's very few people that are substantial landowners that actually care about the land and the future, because down where I live, there's a lot of farm land that's because I'm right on the New Hampshire Massachusetts border, but there's actually a lot of the farms that are in Massachusetts just south of me. They're putting all their stuff in easements so that it can never be built on, and it's going to
Right.
keep that like you said, they can fill in a swamp for a Walmart. Hopefully they
Right.
don't,
Right.
go against these easements, but there are some people that still care about the future going forward, and
Right.
the next generation of kids and people that want to be outside and not having houses everywhere. Because if I owned a farm and I'd be rolling in my grave if,
Yeah,
if all of
yeah.
a sudden there was
Yeah.
50 houses in there because my grandkids want to sell it. Not a chance.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to live in one of those houses either.
No.
no, some spirits going on.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Hopefully, that's like Tommy was saying. There's definitely been a big swing. You know, it kind of seemed like a while there. Nobody wanted to hunt, and then all of a sudden, I'd say within the
COVID.
last
COVID changed
like
it.
in the last
Yeah.
couple of years, dude. It all of a sudden like people that I would never expect to want to hunt are all of a sudden like, we're giving this a shot. We're gonna see if things go bad. We can't go to the grocery store, or however they're thinking about it. It's a good, it's a good trait to have.
COVID it definitely had its its bads, but it definitely gave a lot of people a reality check. Like,
Right.
hey, there's no groceries in the store.
Right.
What are you
Toilet
gonna do?
paper, that
There's-
was the biggest thing.
yeah, no, but like people are like, oh, I can't just go to the store and get everything when there's a shortage of it.
Right.
We're-
I might need to provide
for myself. Yeah,
Right.
Hank Williams was right. Country boy
Yeah,
can survive.
yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that were going frantic about it, and
Yeah.
I never once had a fear.
No.
In that time, I was never even remotely scared of what my next play was.
Right.
If I needed to survive, me and my wife and my kid, we were going to survive.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm sure you guys can all feel the same way too.
Yeah, I got a guy down in Florida who send me oranges.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I think it was definitely a good and a bad. There's a lot of people doing different things that they weren't doing before,
Yeah.
and that's not even just hunting, just things in general. You
Yeah.
know,
Nobody works anymore.
I know it's
yeah.
crazy, man. Everybody works from home, and
I hope we never go through it again. I
trying
was
to-
just talking to a guy about COVID. God, it was just a yucky time, man. Like I
Right,
think back about that, it was just so many different ways. It was just a really yucky time. I think there was some good that came out of it, probably, but it was definitely that was a rough time right there. And I'll tell you what I didn't like about it. What stinks is, so I always viewed COVID. It's like he said, he never worried and whatever. Like I always viewed COVID as it was like this big hunk of fog in front of us, right?
Right.
And we were just trying to find our way through. But my way through that fog might have been different than yours. It
Right.
might have been different. You see what I mean? Everybody
Yeah.
had their own path. And the way, like I looked at it is like somebody like me, I got young kids, I've got bills, right?
Right.
I couldn't not go to work.
Exactly.
Like, you know what I
Right.
mean? That wasn't an option. So
Right.
my path through the fog was different than the person that was 65 sitting on $2 million in their bank account, right? They
Right.
could just shut her down and never come out. No big deal. But what I didn't like about the yuckiest part was the judgment that came from people about finding your way through that fog. Like the
Right.
people that had all that money and like, well, you don't care about your grandparents because you're out going to work,
Right.
And yeah, so anyways, it pulled the curtain back.
Right.
I saw sides of people that I wish I never saw.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how
I lost
could
friends,
sum it up.
friends from COVID, from not even like just people getting sick, but just your beliefs and like your personal
Yeah.
I'm not gonna let this stop my day-to-day life. I'm
Right.
gonna still be me. And
Right.
you know what? If I get sick or if my family gets sick, we'll address that when we get there. But I'm not gonna change my life. And there was people that thought I was a real piece of work because of that. And
Right.
like
And I
you said, it
couldn't-
brought out the worst in people.
It
I
did.
haven't figured out how to do Bluetooth plumbing and heating yet, so I was, I had to go.
Yeah, but
Everybody wants heat and they want a toilet when it's COVID
nature
or not.
calls,
They
yeah.
want it, so I gotta go.
Yeah, and when you got young kids and your family, we're dad. Like you
Right.
know what I mean? That's up to
Yeah,
us to keep
you
it
gotta
going,
work.
dude.
Right.
And that's how I felt about it. And I didn't have the option to just shut her down. So
Right.
I had to go
Right.
out and face it,
Be a
and I was
provider.
like Champa, and I wasn't afraid. I wasn't.
Right.
I was like, it's going to be what it's going to be, and
I was,
whatever it
I
is.
was the poster child to die, dude. I'm sitting here, I'm going, bring it on. I've got everything you want. Take me if you want, But I was also mindful of, like, my in-laws at the time are older. I'm not going to hang out with them.
Right.
If I'm going over there, I'll throw a mask on. I tried not to wear a mask as much as possible. But if I'm going to see them, I'll throw a mask on.
Just to make them feel
Just to
better.
make them feel good. And it's not even that they didn't care, but God forbid I get it or I'm asymptomatic or whatever those words they use and I give it to them, I'll never hear the end of it.
Right.
Right, you'll never live it down, and it'll be on it'll weigh on your
It'll-
conscience
exactly,
forever too. If
so
God forbid something were to happen.
You kind of had to, it was another like walking on eggshells. You kind of like, I'll just do this. And, I would tell customers all the time, like, listen, I'm going to be in the house stay over there. I'll fix whatever needs to be done, and I'll leave, and I'll send you a bill. We're not going to exchange money. We're not going to shake hands. Just, there's other people that are like, listen, I don't give a damn.
Yeah, I was
Just
working
come
at the
in.
hospital during the
Right.
peak of everything.
That must have been
Nightmare.
brutal. Gowns and
Just
masks
turning
and-
people away from their family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the.
When in my heart, I'm like, of course you can go see them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
Yeah.
one of my best friends, he lost his mom and during COVID, and they couldn't even go say goodbye to her.
Right.
Yeah,
and then they're
was,
pushing funerals out, and you're making it even worse by,
they never even did a funeral for her because
Right.
of, it was just such a time where nobody wanted to be around one another, and
Right.
that's terrible. Everybody should
Yeah.
have that closure of, saying
Right.
goodbye.
So
to
sad.
It is terrible.
So
It's so
sad.
sad. And I thought, and luckily my wife worked at the hospital where she passed at, so like my wife was kind of like the. She was the middleman, and she, like, if my buddy's mom needed something, like, she could bring it to her, but
Right.
she was there by herself until the end, and that's terrible.
Last thing I want to do is I'm dying to see somebody on a video call.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, or God forbid, or my kids, or anybody dying.
Right.
Yeah, that was.
Like you said, your moral compass is like, yes, of course you can go see that person,
Right.
but then you're being told you can't.
it doesn't
Yeah.
make sense to me either, but I guess this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's just,
I'm lucky it wasn't anybody to do, like, I didn't have anything like that, because I would have been going to jail 1,000%.
Oh, yeah.
You're not going to tell me I can't go see so and so in the hospital because of your policy. Not a chance.
Well, it's funny. So, like, when I forget which kid it was that was born during COVID, it must have been Jace. We were there, and two of our buddies that my wife and I had grown up with, were also there having kids. So it was like all COVID. You can't see anybody, but we're like, oh, cool. Like, next door is so and so with their kid. So we got kind of lucky there, and like, we know their parents, so it was kind of a cool little thing. But yeah, it's to tell somebody you can't go, and that was the biggest thing. We got, when my grandmother passed right before COVID hit, and we're like, thank God that happened when it did,
Right.
because that would have been
Blessing in disguise.
right. Yeah,
I hope it never happens again.
Yeah, that's for damn sure.
yeah. I don't think we'd be able to come out of it the same. You know what I mean? I think it would doing that again for another 2 years with something else. People are going to either wake up or shut up, and it's just going to go one way or the other. In my opinion, we can't sustain that.
I think people will be more resilient too this
Yeah.
time
Right,
around.
that's
You're not going
right.
to have so many people that are going to be, okay, yeah, let's follow this, because, I mean, realistically, we've come out of COVID now, and it's
Yeah.
just a damn cold.
Right,
That's all it is. I
right.
mean, there was people that definitely, that had underlying conditions, but,
Right.
I mean,
Yeah. It caused a lot of mistrust.
Yeah.
Like, people
For
don't
sure.
trust.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
People are going to think on their own now a little
Right.
bit instead of just buying into the fear mongering
Right.
that
That's
sometimes
exactly
happens.
right.
You know what I mean?
yeah.
my favorite was the people, oh, so you think you're a doctor? No, but I have common sense.
Right, right. 100%, dude.
And it's kind of funny to look back at those people that, oh, you think you have a doctorate, or you're a doctor, and like, no, but I can think for myself. And there was a
Right.
lot of people that couldn't think for themselves in that time
and it
at
showed
all.
it.
Oh yeah,
They just gave up.
yeah.
And that's the thing too, is like all the family-owned businesses that have been in business forever.
You know-
Like in Maine, they're like, hey, you can't have anybody, you can't have indoor dining, you can't have outdoor dining. And then businesses that kind of relied on like, hey, we need to work every week, we need to bring a paycheck in every week or every 2 weeks. And if you didn't get that, you got 2 or 3 months into it. It's
So I'm going to take this moment to have this little fast rant about this, but that was one of the first ones right there where Timmy was like, something's not right here.
right. Yeah.
When that all came down the pipe in the barber shop, in the pizza place that has been in business forever, in all these little small local businesses, nope, you're not allowed. Shut her down. But Lowe's is wide open, so you can build a deck if you want.
Right.
When that was going on, Walmart wide open. All these big chain store, I was like, something's not. This doesn't
Right.
make sense. You know what I mean? If
No.
it's what you're saying, and the pizza shop can't operate. You know what I mean? If it's as bad as what you're saying, how can Lowe's and Walmart be open? Like, it just didn't add up to me.
No, it
And
didn't.
right out of the gate, Timmy's like super skeptical about, like, I don't know about this, and this
Yeah.
doesn't make sense, And anyways, I wasn't comfortable with any of that. You know what I mean? And it was all small business. It was the little people.
Right.
Yeah,
You know?
moms and dads can afford their mortgage, and then the CEOs and CFOs
Yeah.
of all these huge companies, they're lining their pockets, but a lot of people,
Yeah.
are still suffering the consequences of
Makes
it.
you
to this
question,
day.
I
you know
don't
what
think
I
the
mean?
Waltons lost anything.
No.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
But it makes you wonder, is that by design? I mean, small business is not
Right. It's the
encouraged by
competition.
right? Exactly. So it makes you wonder a little bit. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just a big attack on the little man, it seems.
I mean, it's the middle class and the middle man
Right.
it's always our whole lives is
Right.
we paid the most in taxes. We pay, you know what I mean? It's
we're
like
fighting enough.
inflation
Right.
bothers us, affects us more than it does ultra rich people or super poor people.
Right. And
Right.
then you get inflation, and now, like in Maine,
Look at us now.
Yeah.
8% inflation. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
it's crazy. But we're the ones it's the middle class that affects. It's
so like Maine brought up their minimum wage. Yeah, what is it now? $15 an hour.
In Portland or something.
Right, but I think
certain
Maine came up
towns.
as a whole. It's something crazy. Like
Not
don't
enough.
think
All
I'll
that
tell you
does is
that.
it just drives the prices of everything else up. Though.
Exactly.
Well, that's what I try telling people all the time. I said, listen, you're driving the prices up. Now that family-owned business, say if I own, if I was in business, I had 3 guys employed, 5 guys employed, I pay them a fair wage, and now all of a sudden I have to pay a helper $4 more an hour. Well, now we got to charge the customer that much more to make up the pay. Who's getting hurt here? It's
Yeah.
not Walmart, it's not the big corporations, it's the little guy that's trying to support 5 families, not just his own.
yeah.
That was the
The middle class has been under
what a
attack.
gentleman he is.
Yeah, he is. The middle class has been under attack my whole life.
Right.
It's
Always will be.
And it's always will be. And I'll tell you why it never makes sense to me, because I look at it as the middle class is the meat and potatoes of America. That is your truck drivers. That's the people that haul your food so you can go buy it. That's
your plumbers, that's your
It's your plumbers.
electricians.
It's your electricians. We maintain all the infrastructure.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like
yeah.
we're the heartbeat of this country.
Right.
The middle class is, and I don't know. It just seems like the powers to be just seem to pit the game against you. It's a really difficult game, but
I saw the statistic the other day. It was like for every 50 construction workers that retire, there's only 7 new generation
Yeah.
of kids that are coming into the construction trade. It's like
Because they're told YouTube and online bank
Streaming and all- yeah, all that stuff is the future.
Work from home is where to make it.
Yeah.
Just like when you were a kid, you were told you have to go to college. You have to go to college.
Yeah.
You're going no.
that's all played out luckily now. But yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, geez, man.
you're gonna see that in 10 years. The guy who's a plumber that was making $80,000 a year is going to be $150,000,
Right.
$200,000 job a year because
you can't find
you can't find anybody that's reputable.
Right. I work for a small company, and we have a kid, and if he hears this, I love you, buddy. He's 19, or I think he just turned 20. He's the first one at the shop every single day. He's never calls out. He's always, if you need something, he's not running, but he's boogieing to get it. And he's, you can't find
You can't
that.
find a
You
single kid
can't.
like that in today's world.
No,
They're
and-
so rare.
And this kid is like, he's not like how I grew up. I grew up dirt floor poor. This kid was like, he's got a family that's got their life together, pretty, well off. They're doing their thing. They're doing, doing all right. He doesn't have to work. He doesn't have
Right,
to.
he could be a screw up.
Right. He could just sit back and live off the pension or whatever, but the kid works, man. And,
for him.
I tell him all the time, I'm like, listen, keep doing what you're doing, because
You'll
that
make it.
little bit of savage you have in you to keep doing this,
Yeah.
the kid next to you is not going to have it.
Yeah.
That kid's gonna be
You
a
know?
monster someday.
Oh,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? He's gonna
That's
be
the
the
thing.
CEO of a company someday. He's gonna
came
be.
in as a 19-year-old kid, 18, 19-year-old kid when we hired him. That's young to start doing plumbing, heating, AC. By the time he's 25, he'll be killing it.
Yeah.
He'll be
He'll be
killing
the
it.
boss.
Oh
That's
yeah,
right, you know what I mean?
And he's a smart kid, and it's hard to find somebody to give a damn enough to just show up. We hear it all the time. We're a small company. We have under 5,000 customers, and the new customers get, they go, we couldn't find anybody to answer the phone.
Yep.
We've called 10 guys and nobody will answer the phone.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll answer the phone. We'll show up when we say we're going to. If we're running a few minutes behind,
You
we'll let
almost
you
will be
know.
successful just doing that.
Just answering the phone.
That's it.
Just showing up.
Just answer
Just-
your phone and call people back
Just be
and
a
show up
warm
when you
body.
say.
Just be
and
a
you
warm
will be
body,
successful.
Yeah, just
Yep.
figure out if you're male or female. You're not a pony.
People miss that though. I'm telling you right now, because that's how it always was when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Like when I was in my teens and in my 20s, everybody did business that way. Like, you know what I mean? It was a
Phone call and a handshake.
yes.
Yeah.
That's how everybody did it.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
That's how I
And-
was taught. My dad told me, he goes, lay your hands on the desk. You don't need to have a resume. I've never written a resume.
Yeah.
I don't know how to. I'm not the most educated. I'm sure everybody understands that by now. But put your hands on the desk. This is what I work with. I'll
Yep.
be here. My boots will be tied.
Yep.
And when the bell rings at the end of the day, or the buzzer goes off, or you say it's time to quit, I'll quit.
It's the same thing like holding the door for somebody. I held the door for this couple the other night.
And they're blown away by it, like, what the hell?
chivalry isn't dead.
Gentlemen.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's the way I was raised.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Did you
This
hear what I
is
just
normal.
said?
It's called being polite.
When you open the door, it's, oh, what a gentleman he is.
No.
It's just, and that's what, especially with me, I'm sitting there, I'm like, holy smokes, I'm gonna have 4 boys I got to train to, like,
You gotta teach them to be better than you ever were.
Right.
That's
Oh,
the
yeah.
thing.
They
Yeah,
better
my
be.
son holds doors open,
Right.
everything.
Yep.
He helped a little old lady put groceries in the
Yeah.
back of her car. He's like, can we help her?
Yeah. That's
Oh, yeah,
that's
go ahead.
fantastic. That's what you want, because those are they're examples of you,
Yeah.
and they
Right.
reflect
Right.
you
Oh,
as,
yeah.
as a parent, and you want your kids always to be better than you were as a person,
Right.
or morally, ethically, all the above.
That's what I try to tell my kids. I'm like, listen, when you're out in public, when I'm not watching, this town's small. The town next to us I grew up in, we know everybody. I said, you are a direct reflection of me. So if you look like a punk, I'm getting that call.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm going to get that call,
Integrity, doing the right thing when no
Yeah.
one's looking.
Well, it's like Tommy's son. He'll come over and, my little girl's 8 months old, and the first thing he does is runs right over to her.
Yeah.
He's sitting there. She's trying to play with something, put something in his mouth, and he's like, got that,
Yeah.
He's right
He
on
turns
it.
into a parent as soon as he's
Yeah,
younger.
it's awesome, and looking at him like,
That kid's
oh,
going
man.
places in life,
I go, if my oldest would just do a little, he's a good kid. He does great, but yeah, Tommy's boy is
Saves
on
his
it.
money.
Yeah.
That's
He's
awesome.
on
Says
it,
he's the
man.
next Donald Trump.
Yeah. And he told me
love
the
it.
other day, he
Make
has
America
a,
great again, buddy.
he has a swear.
I know I'll vote for him.
Every time you swear, $1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was over at in Tommy's father-in-law's house, and I was outside, and I'm not thinking the kids are listening. And he comes out and he goes, I heard you swear. I go, all right, how much do I owe you? He goes, $3 million.
But I do like ask people to pay for it because
Right. Oh, I've given him.
otherwise it
I don't
turns
know
into
how
a
much.
joke.
Right.
Oh yeah, I've given him.
Besides him, I mean, like we have to go to a limit. Jim's got a max out point.
Take a loan.
Yeah.
sitting there like,
He
"All right,
swears
man,
every
do you
time he swears because he's mad.
I go, do you have a cube yet? I need to start swiping my card.
Yeah.
But
And I have it on his tablet, just going around collecting.
Yeah.
yeah, keep him out of my house.
These little ones, you just got to lead by example. That's what I
Yeah.
figured out. I think you just got to, do all the things that, that you think are your values and just
Right.
live your life that way. And they're watching. They're watching.
Right.
They
Every
you work
step of
hard.
the
If you
way.
want them to work hard, you should work hard and show them what it looks like.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
You want them to be good to, their girlfriends and wives. Well, do it to your wife and show them what it looks like.
Right.
That's what it comes down to.
Oh yeah.
I'm getting the old evil eye from my wife right now. Yeah. But that's the best way. You could say it all you want, but
Right.
you got to show them.
Lead
Oh,
by
yeah.
example.
Lead by example
Yeah.
because they're watching. That's the thing with little kids, man. They're watching you all
Whatever
the time.
dad
They're
does,
like
they
a
wanna do it.
sponge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
And
are.
the thing I've realized too is what I try to do with my boys is if we're going to Grammy's house, she's not picking up a piece of paper that you dropped on the ground. And if she is, we're having a problem.
Yeah.
When we plow, I take care of her during the wintertime. When we plow, you better get your boots on, dude. I'm not shoveling. You are.
Yep.
So Grammy always takes care of him, candy, chips, money, she always does that, but he's going to learn if you go put in work, you're going to get a return on it, whether it be candy, chips, or money.
Mm-hmm.
When you put in an effort, you get something out of it,
Yeah.
and I think that's kind of lost. I see, having the kids that I got and seeing the friends, and I'm seeing, man, nobody wants to come outside. They just want to sit and play video games. They're always asking, oh, okay.
God, when I was growing up, you couldn't go down the road without somebody playing, hockey in the road.
Right.
Or,
Backyard
catch.
baseball.
Yeah. It didn't matter what it was. Now
Throwing rocks at each other, anything.
I work.
Cars.
I drive in neighborhoods. I do trash collection for a living, and in the summertime, I
kids.
never see kids outside
Right.
ever anymore. And there was 3 separate groups of kids in my neighborhood growing up, and my neighborhood was 12 streets, and
Oh, yeah.
these 4 streets would have a group of kids. My
Right.
section, we had a group of kids, and there was older, younger, but like there was never not something to do in the
Right.
neighborhood. Now you go outside and it's like, where is everyone?
And let them fight.
Yeah.
Let them fight.
Yeah.
Let them get it out of their way, man. Get it out of their system. I remember as a kid, there was the older kids that used to pick on my little sister, and I'm like, oh, I'm the same size as them. I'd go up there and get my ass kicked.
Yeah.
But hey, I put in an effort.
That's how I got a good arm because we lived on a hill. My brothers always had
Throw
the
the
top
rocks
of the
up.
hill throwing rocks at me, so I had to throw up the hill.
I know that's another thing. We used to growing up, man, you get a problem with somebody, you guys beat the shit out of each other, and you get on with your
They're
day.
your best friends.
And that was it.
And that's it.
You
Now,
know?
God, you're in handcuffs, or you're,
Right.
you know, you're the bad person for doing that, or
The soft world we live in.
yeah, it's terrible.
It's crazy.
Or they just retaliate in an extreme.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Or that. Right. You know.
That's common too now.
Anyways, what's plans for hunting this year? Maine?
Yeah. hunting.
You first.
Maine and New Hampshire probably.
Yeah.
I'm not going in. Ever since the kids came, I really haven't traveled too far, but yeah, Maine and New Hampshire.
Do you usually wait till muzzleloader to go up, or
Nope. Whenever there's snow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Timmy might only hunt Maine 2 days a year, but
Yeah.
he
Yeah, he's
makes it
going.
count.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
for
that's
sure.
really the time to
That
be.
all,
Yeah.
you know, and that it's funny how that worked.
Especially if it snows late. Everybody's all tuckered out.
Yeah.
People beating
That's
the bush
what I
early.
love.
Or tagged out.
Yeah, or tagged out,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, that I became that way, and it was when I became a dad. You know, it was just you have responsibility at home and stuff.
Yeah.
And
Right.
you know, it's a thing if you just leave your wife with 2 little ones and just off, you know, going and doing whatever. So I don't know. I just kind of morphed into that, and I was like, yeah, you know, like I had done it long enough and stuff. And I used to just take the time off, and I just, if it was bare ground up there, I'd be milling around doing whatever.
Right.
And then when those good days came, and cool. But now, once the kids came and stuff, and you know, you're just getting pulled in so many different directions. Steve
Right.
can probably, you know, vouch for this
right,
when
yeah.
when they first show up. You know, it's like
Oh, yeah.
you're trying to just,
Be
you
a good,
know,
but you're trying to be a good and present parent,
yep.
but also trying to, you know, enjoy your own life. And
You're just you're being pulled in all kinds of directions. It feels like so.
your mind's being pulled one way and your
Yep.
body's being pulled another.
I remember
Yeah.
when Jace came, my oldest, when he came that year. He came right during deer season too. It was November 7th, so I had a brand new one at home.
you messed up the timing on that
Oh,
one.
yeah. I was thinking,
There's memes about that now, you know.
yeah.
Valentine's Day, buddy.
Yeah. But anyways, you know, it felt like I was in a current swimming.
Right.
And I was just swimming as hard as I could, but I just couldn't get anywhere.
Right.
You know what I mean? It
Yeah,
was
yeah.
just, you
Your
just
mind's
couldn't,
not in it all
you
the
just
way.
couldn't get anywhere. Like I
Right.
just couldn't make any progress. You were just sitting there maintaining. And anyways, so that's how I started doing it. I knew I didn't have a lot of time. So I just waited for the right days, you know,
Right.
and I still killed bucks all through those years and stuff. So I was like, hey, you know what? That actually works. You don't have to take a month off. You can actually do it if you time it up right. And,
Right.
you know, the bad part is there's some people that have jobs where you got to ask for time off. I've always been lucky because I've always worked for myself. So I could just go when I wanted to, you know. So I guess this maybe doesn't apply if you got to put in for your time.
Right.
But I will say this, you know, some advice. If I was ever in a job where like, yeah, I got to put in for my time, I think I would do muzzleloader, main muzzleloader.
Yeah.
That was hands down.
Deer moving, they're all tired, run down. And
Yep.
if you get snow, they're not going far.
Right.
That's the thing.
I killed my buck this year in Maine. It was muzzleloader season, and
It was
when that-
December, right?
yeah, it was December. It was the first week. It was like December 6th or whatever it was. But I kind of figured that out. I was like, this is a really good time to hunt right here. Because the problem is in the middle of the month when the rut's going, you know, you got doe groups that are 10 miles apart. You know,
crazy.
I've got on buck tracks, I'm telling you, they're an hour old in front of you, but somehow at the end of the day, after 15 miles, they're further away from you than when you started. You know, those bucks, you're just not going to catch those bucks.
Right.
And the problem is you could track 5 straight bucks, 5 straight days in a row, and 3 or 4 of them will do that to you. It's 1 out of 5 or 10, whatever it is.
That's the one you kill.
That's the one you kill,
Yeah,
right?
right.
But you're probably gonna have 5 of those that you're not going to. You know, it is completely different during muzzleloader. Man knows because those bucks, you know, the rut's over and they're just getting into their place to kind of get enough weight back on to survive the winter,
Right.
and they're just not doing that traveling like they. So to me, I can't remember a year when there hasn't been snow during those first 2 weeks of main muzzleloader. So there's almost a guarantee of snow, and the bucks are killing. The bad part about it is the bucks are lighter. If you like weight and you're trying to shoot a 250 pounder, you know, he probably isn't going to be that time of year. You know, you're going to shoot a 180 pound buck that was 225 pounds in early November. You know, that's the crappy part about it, but whatever. It is what it is.
I always think about that when someone shoots like a 230 pounder on the last week. I'm like, man, what was that?
Oh
thing?
yeah, that's your 270s,
Yeah,
280s
I'll
right
never,
there.
I'll never get sick of shooting 180 and 190 pound bucks in my life.
Right.
Ever. There's some people that, you know, if it's not 200 pounds, it doesn't make them happy. But if I can shoot a mature buck that's 120 inches and he's 193 pounds. I'll never be sad about
Yeah.
that. If I shot one of those every year for the rest of my life, I'd
I'm
die
good
very
shooting
happy.
150 pounders,
Yeah,
man.
same.
Yeah.
I love it. I
Day
don't care
by
what
day,
it is.
you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we said it last time too. If I shot a 200 pounder, that'd be great.
Yep.
But when I go out there, if it's got spikes on it, it's going down. If I've been in the woods any longer than 6 hours walking, it's dead.
You know, the other thing I've noticed a little bit too with that time of the year being the late season main muzzleloader, it's kind of like the very beginning of November deer season. So if you got snow on the very first week of November in Maine, the hardest part is going and locating that buck that
Right.
you want to kill. Because the problem is they're in a lot smaller area, right? Because they're just, coming out of October, and he's putting his sign around here in this area right here, and that's kind of his core little spot, right? At that specific time.
Right.
During November, in the middle of when the rut gets going, you can drive down just about any road, and there's a buck track going across, whatever, because they're just zooming everywhere.
Right.
But then at the end, like that, it's sort of the same thing. I think they have specific
tighten back
areas with the right whatever that feed is in that area. It's got the right cover, the right feed,
South-facing,
South-facing,
thermal cover,
yep.
feed. That's where they're going to be.
That's right. And it's knowing where those spots are, because there's a bazillion acres that time of year they're not there. They're
Right.
just not there. The same way they're not there at the first week in November. They're just not there yet, So that's the other thing. But I think if you do it a few times and locate and maybe get one or two of those bucks, I feel like probably year after year you can go up on that ridge
Right.
that has all the stuff that
You're looking for.
had the buck last year in there that I killed. So just go back this year, and chances are the
be
next
another one.
right.
Yeah.
So it's
The
kind of
hierarchy.
like, it's
Right.
sort of like the early season to me in a way,
I think that's how people get more proficient at being a better hunter too, is, from experience, you learn year after year. Okay, hey, 3 years ago on December 4th, I killed a buck up on that ridge. I'm going to take a walk up on that ridge because there's a good chance that if there's mass crop up there, there's going to be another buck up there.
Right.
And instead of, when you're younger and you're just trying to explore everywhere, you're wasting a lot of time. And like in your situation, the woods you hunt, and year after year, you've, established where deer are. You can get on a deer just about any time it snows, no matter what the time of year it is. Where a lot of younger guys, they're just going to start walking, get burnt
Beat
out.
feet,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. And they don't, nothing transpires from it, where, the wisdom of somebody that's been doing it for years, it definitely helps.
I've always said it's the hardest part. Tracking bucks, the single hardest part is locating them.
Right.
It's always been the hardest for me. Maybe it's not everybody else, but for me, hands down, the hardest.
Right.
Is just getting
sure.
getting on him on that day.
Right.
That's the toughest part. It's almost like, after that, it's just, you're either going to kill him or you're not. You're either close enough behind him or you're not. You know what I mean? Like, the chips are going to fall, but just getting yourself on a big one on that day.
Right.
That's
That's why
the
we'll-
difficult part.
Go up around September and try to just find a good track even in the soft stuff. Just
Yeah.
get you an idea where the bucks are like in a run.
I mean, that's what Lanny did forever. Lanny he used to go up in September and October and
Yeah.
go scout. And then
Yeah.
when the snow fell, deer died.
Right.
Deer
Yeah.
fell.
Yeah.
It saves you
Deer
that
fell when the
time
snow
of
fell.
roaming
Yeah.
around.
He did a lot of his scouting though, right during the season.
Yeah.
Like he'd just get there and he'd drive around in the Suburban for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
End of
know.
October, early November,
Yeah.
he'd be beating the.
But it's cool. Like the cool part is like you get the payoff after 10 years or something of doing it, because then you get spots catalog that this just experience, like, oh, I killed a buck up there and, whatever. So it's just, you start gaining. So then hopefully before it's done, you just got a bunch of those places you can just go check, and you're always looking for new ones too. But,
We even have that around here though. Like when there's years where there's no acorns, it's like, okay, green fields. You're gonna have to go find.
Yeah.
The deer are gonna be in the green fields this year. Oh, there's acorns this year. Oh, perfect. I know right where I'm gonna go.
That's right.
Oh, it's a wet summer. Oh, well, deer aren't gonna be in the swamps because there's gonna be no hummocks for them to lay up on.
Yep.
So they're gonna be on the edge of the swamps. And okay, there's some oak trees over there. Yeah, and it's it's like every couple years there's a cycle. Really wet, no mass crop. There's always something where it's like you have your next play, even if no matter what the circumstances, you're gonna have skin in the game that
Yep.
following year. Like this past year there's some acorns. The year before there was no acorns and the deer were pounding the green fields. The year
Right.
before that there was so much water. The year before that there was a ton of acorns. It's just like you said, you have like your catalog of spots for
Yeah.
no matter what the situation is.
Yep.
Yeah,
you just need
adapting.
experience.
Yeah,
You know,
it is.
experience and just start building those places, you know? Yeah. But up north, I feel like it's a lot different because, like, where I hunt, there's no acorns. So,
Right.
that, you know, that whole, it's cuts. So,
Right.
the only thing that really can change up there is just the cuts get too tall.
Right.
The
Yeah.
moose, now it's moose take them over and the deer don't want them anymore because everything's too grown up.
Right.
So, it might be a cut over there that just got
Like
done.
1-year-old or whatever.
Right. Exactly. That's about it.
Right.
But down here, I'm with him. Like,
Yeah.
it completely cycles. Like, you know whether that swamp's going to be good this year or not just by
Oh, we got 12 inches of rain this month.
Yeah.
There ain't gonna be deer in that
Yeah.
swamp. And then the years that there's acorns, those years can be tough though, because usually when we get a mass crop around here, there's so many acorns.
Yeah,
Right.
It's hard. You have to be consistently scouting and finding right on top of the deer,
Right.
because if
That's right.
not, you're
Right.
yeah, you can sit in Oak Flat or an Oak Ridge or whatever, and you might have to sit there for a month before you see a deer, and that's not my style.
Right.
I want to be. If I know I'm not going to be in the game, I'd just rather be scouting, trying to find them.
Right.
Yeah, when
you
those
just
acorns are rolling into their beds, so they don't have to even go
Yeah,
far.
yeah. They stand up, eat, lay back down. Those are
Yeah.
the worst years. But that's when you shoot heavy deer, or not that year. You'll shoot some heavy deer that year, but usually you get good racks the following year
Right.
because they were able to feed good all throughout the winter. Like I think it was, what year was that? 21. Like every single person I knew shot a 200-pound deer that year. But the year before in 2020, we had more acorns than you could shake a stick at.
Right.
And everybody was like, oh, like Jim Levasseur killed one like 250. Armin killed one like 240. I got one 220. Lucas got one 212. It was like every single person I knew just killing big deer that year. But the winter was light winter and a lot of mass crop.
Right.
That was a good year.
Which Maine should be good this season.
Yeah.
Yeah, light winter.
Yeah.
Heavy
Did you guys have a
crawfish.
lot of beach up there last year?
We had beach and acorn.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah.
We didn't have acorns around here last year, but we had beach. Not so much here. We don't really have a ton of beach around here, but everywhere I went up in
Right.
Maine and even central New Hampshire, it was beach.
You know, last year, because I got the oak trees here in the yard, we actually, like, one of those trees out there had acorns, but they were all off the tree done
Yeah.
by, like, early September.
Oh,
They had all dropped off, like,
Thanks for
know,
tuning
I
into
think there
another
was
episode
some,
of
but
Downey's Bucks Podcast.
they just dropped early.
Be sure to
and
tune
it
in
got
next
cleaned
week
up.
for
It
part
wasn't a
2
lot, and
with
then whatever
Timmy
did just
Bolduc
got cleaned up, and,
and
like, by the
Stephen
time the
Champa.
deer season came, there was not. Like, I couldn't have shown you any acorns.
I think that's to do with the rain. I think there's excessive rain and a lot of the acorns off. That was a big thing. A lot of people were like, yeah, I found acorns. I'm like, well, were they? Was there fruit in them? And people were like, what do you mean? I'm like,
Yeah.
open them up, see what
Right,
they look like. And
right.
they said, oh, it's mush. Yeah, no, deer aren't going to be.
Yeah.
They're not eating the shell.
No.
No.
That's for sure.
Yeah. No, this year should be good.